Alright, family, it's your boy 804 here, bringing you some best of one today. As I mentioned in a previous video, we have been trying to grind mythic here. Some days we've definitely been working a little bit harder at it than others. We are currently in the bottom of Diamond 4. It's been a struggle, I'm going to be honest with you. The metagame has changed up quite a lot over the past few weeks. It kind of started out with a lot of Fires decks and moved into now more of a Yorion control dominated metagame with Yorion and Luca and Agent of Treachery kind of, I think, making up almost a quarter of the format. Right behind that are the Team of Reclamation and the cycling decks. Haven't actually seen as much cycling lately, not sure why that is. I think it's because with all of the Yorion decks running around, they are running a fair amount of counter magic, and Mystical Dispute just blows out Zenith Flare over and over again. That being said, we're taking a little bit of an, I wouldn't call it an off-meta approach. This deck has been definitely capable of taking on the best decks in the format if we get kind of our optimal draw. That being said, we are a Gruul Fires deck, focused obviously on getting Fires of Invention out on turn 4. We're able to play Kahira, the Orphan Guard, as our companion, so we're kind of guaranteed a turn 3 play. The strongest play pattern with this deck is we'll have Arboreal Grazer on turn 1, which will allow us to play a second land on turn 3. On turn 2 we'll have 3 mana available, which then we can play Kahira, the Orphan Guard, making Arboreal Grazer a 1/4 vigilant threat. That extra point of toughness actually does a fair amount. There aren't a whole lot of 3-power attackers in the current format. I guess you can consider Valiant Rescuer a pretty common one, but for the most part, just the 4 toughness makes it really difficult to swing through the Grazer, and adding a point of power actually does a lot in terms of giving a kill threat against a lot of the aggressive decks in the format, whether that's Cauldron Familiar. Almost all of the mono red threats have 1 toughness in the early game, so makes Arboreal Grazer actually a pretty formidable wall of defense. If we don't manage to get that, we have just a splash here of fixing and Bond Flourishing and Fire Prophecy. Prophecy allows us to get rid of things like early Priests of Forgotten Gods, maybe even a Flourishing Fox if timed correctly, and Bond just helps us dig a little bit more into the Fires of Invention. Then, as you can see, that this deck is pretty top heavy here. Starting on turn 4, we really want to hit Fires of Invention, which allows us to double spell any of these other 10 4-drops. Ingress allows us to blow up opposing Fires of Invention. Occasionally you'll hit like an Elspeth Conqueror's Death, which is really nice. There are a lot more enchantments rolling around right now with the Omens in the Yorion decks. Admittedly, it's not super relevant a lot of the time, but it is just a strong 4-drop that on occasion will really overperform. Questing Beast, just one of the strongest 4-drops you can play in green, if not the strongest 4-drop. Allows you to slam in while also eating up to fairies, potential Narsets, things like that. Crucially, it also gets past a lot of the 1/1 spamming decks. The Omen of, I'm not actually sure what it's called, the White Omen that just spits out 1/1s, as well as the Cycling deck 1/1s. A lot of the Rakdos deck and Orzhov Sacrifice decks are running 2-power or less creatures. Just an incredible 4-drop. Shifting Ceratops has also, I think, performed very well in this current metagame. You've got a lot of counterspells going around, specifically because of Yorion. Those mirror matchups are A, abysmal to play, and B, very, very counterspell dependent. So Shifting Ceratops just allows you to swing through, There's a lot of Agent of Treachery going around right now, so the protection from blue not only keeps you protected from Agent of Treachery, but allows you to swing through. It allows you to swing through board states that are like Yorion, the Shark token, and Agent of Treachery. I've seen that multiple times where you're just able to swing through and get the easy 5 damage. Then you've got your 5-drops here. There's one card in this deck that I'm playing that I don't see a lot of other lists playing. That is Return of the Wild Speaker. Honestly, it's kind of filler. I cut a copy of Embercleave for it, which is probably not the best. That being said, we do have kind of a trample sub-theme with this deck, with things like Angerus, Shifting Ceratops potentially getting trample, the Quartzwood Crasher, as well as Vivian tokens getting trample. So it allows both modes of Return of the Wild Speaker to be relevant, and in the late game, if you're casting, basically, if you're casting Return of the Wild Speaker to draw 6 or 7 cards, you're, with Fires of Invention out, you're just going to eventually overpower them. It's possible that this is just a little bit too cute, but I enjoy it anyways. And then the one of Embercleave, I see most lists, I think, running 2, but it's a little bit clunky, I find, in some games, but it does also just absolutely blow the opponent out, as Embercleave does. We are playing best of 1 today. I've just been so incredibly frustrated with the best of 3 format, with how many Yorion decks are running around. So with that is our deck tech. In terms of this deck's performance, it's very draw dependent, like most Fires decks are, and we don't actually have things like Sphinx and Foresight to help smooth our draws out. But with that being said, it's a lot more fun. The games are a little bit more quick and clean, and I've been having fun with it. So our opening hand doesn't do a whole lot. We are playing against a Lurrus deck, so I think this is a fairly... The thing that kind of is rough about these decks is that we don't actually have a whole lot of early plays anyway, so mulliganing hands like these in hopes of getting like Arboreal Grazer or Bond Flourishing is a little bit risky because we don't actually have a lot of fixing. At least with this hand, we do have 3 lands to help us play Kahira on turn 3. We've got our colors. Honestly, the hand doesn't do a whole lot against Lurrus. They don't really run too many enchantments. I guess we could potentially hit Witch's Oven. Also, being on the draw is a little bit tough, given that they could have a very aggressive start. We don't know if they're playing Rakdos or Orzhov. That being said, I think this is a keep. It's possible that that's an incorrect play. Still kind of learning a little bit about what the mulligan, game looks like for this deck. So, opponent is on the Rakdos variant. It is a very aggressive deck. They're playing the Knight of the Ebon Legion, which I believe this version, if I'm not mistaken, plays things like Whisper Squad. And, okay, I'm wrong. They are on the Knights variant. So, I think I like playing against the Knights a little bit better, but we are certainly in some trouble here. They're going to flip the board with Worthy Knight, potentially getting 2 more 1/1s. We are in a load of trouble here. So we definitely have to get something out on the board. Already, I've got a feeling this game is just over. We don't have any sweepers. We don't have anything to kind of protect against this kind of strength. That being said, they are a hyper-aggressive deck. We kept a risky hand, and they were on the play. So here I think we trade with the Worthy Knight. It's a little bit tough because the Veteran is the one that's pumping all of their creatures. The Worthy Knight allows them to just buy back. That being said, they're probably just going to play Lurrus anyways, unless they have Embercleave by this one. Yeah, this game is over. Don't think there's anything that we could potentially have. Yeah. Really strong showing here from the, yeah, that is a good game. Really strong showing from the Knights deck. That being said, I'm not too high on the Knights deck personally. I think the mana is a little bit rough for an aggressive deck in 3 colors. Obviously, the opponent did not have any trouble with it. But even with that being said, having that many shocklands in an aggressive deck makes you a little bit susceptible to mono red, while also I just think having 3 colors in your aggressive deck in this format where the fixing isn't super great. Obviously, you've got the Triomes to help get you there, which are great, but those are tap lands, so it's a little bit scary to play that deck, but obviously looked very strong there from the opponent. So here's another Lurrus deck. We are on the draw, unfortunately. I don't think that we can mulligan a hand with Fires and a 4-drop. We'll be able to play Kahira on turn 3. Ideally, they won't have quite as an aggressive start, but we'll see. Alright, so they're on Orzhov. Sacrifice, it seems like. Potentially not the worst matchup. Don't think we want return. It is possible that we like that, but I think we're looking for a little bit, potentially maybe some early interaction. Although I guess if we don't want return there, I don't know when we want return. So Fire Prophecy would be really strong here against Priest. No such luck. So we play Land and Pass. Definitely looking a little bit scary here. We'll Celebrate, sure. Which is okay, so not in a good position here again. Unfortunately, they are just going to be able to make us sacrifice the Orphan Guard, but not much we can do about it, I don't think. And you could argue this deck is a little bit better in Best of 3, but honestly, I've been playing Best of 3, and the Yorion decks are just so oppressive in that format that I personally just don't enjoy playing against that heavy of a dominant format by a control deck. Yeah, we were getting blown up. It was another aggressive start. We might have done a little bit better here on the play. But I don't see us really being able to come back here. Definitely another strong showing. Guess we'll fake it till we make it here, but I think between Priest, Cruel Celebrant, Cauldron, Familiar Triggers, this game is definitely over. Luckily, if you'll call it luckily, we are at the bottom of Diamond, so it's not like we're falling any farther, but definitely a tough matchup. I wouldn't even necessarily call it a tough matchup, just being on the draw here with such an aggressive start. We were going to be hard-pressed to find a way out of this anyway. Yeah, that is the game. That being said, really strong showing from the Orzhov deck. It's just another one of those menaces in the format. I actually do feel like the Orzhov deck has a fairly strong game against the Yorion decks. Normally when you have a Yorion deck, or a control deck that kind of dominates the format, you're really looking to get underneath them and aggro them out. The thing with the mono red decks though is they are playing cards like the Simic Titan its name escapes me right now. Uro. They are playing a fair amount of life gain decks, and if you gas out, you're just absolutely done against those decks. I have been really struggling to get through them. So this looks like a Jeskai control variant of Yorion. Certainly a strong deck in its own right. We'll go with Ikoria here. Gonna for a point of damage. It's possible they play something like Island Teferi, which would be kind of brutal. Another Birth, we don't mind that. So opponent's not going to be missing land drops anytime soon. I'm almost positive they'll be grabbing an island with that. Don't see any reason to play Fire Prophecy here. Shifting Ceratops obviously plays directly into a Shatter the Sky. So we're overextending by playing it, but I honestly don't really see any way around that. It's possible maybe we would rather Prophecy plus Bond here, given that next turn we can have Shifting Ceratops anyways, which I think I'm going to do. I'm actually going to decline. It was probably right to just Bond first to see what we have and then do this. Okay, so unfortunately we do telegraph that we have the fires. They're going to get another token here. They have their own fires and an omen. So we're definitely against the Luca version of this deck. Opponent has a Luca Avatar, if that didn't sell it enough. Almost positive we're going to get something stolen here this next turn. If not, it'll probably be a Shatter the Sky, Elspeth Conquers Death turn. Either way, we're probably just not in a very good position here, but this is the way these games go. Opponent did have a fairly consistent draw here. They got their fires out on turn 4. They did have Omen, but they played that post-fires, so strong showing for the Yorion deck. There's no doubt about it. It's still a menace to deal with in this format. I don't suspect that's going to change anytime soon. But since we have a moment here, I'll talk about what I was getting at with the Orzhov decks. Sometimes it's just it is a little bit too difficult to get under the Yorion deck and kill them by turn 4. When they gain life with things like Birth of Meletis or Uro, or even just casting the White Omen. I will definitely look the name up for it because I know I've talked about it multiple times now. Even if they just cast the White Omen, it virtually just gains them enough life that they're just not going to be able to get under them. At least with the sacrifice decks, you have a little bit of protection against Agent of Treachery by... Okay. So they bounce my fires. You get a little bit of protection from Agent of Treachery by sacrificing what they want to pull. Okay.
Only time will tell.
So they now actually have...
This isn't a fight.
If I was them, I probably would have actually bounced their fires, correct? Because then they would have had access to... They would have had access to more mana. They could have cast multiple spells that turn. Now that they can't counter anything, we can probably safely resolve the fires but I don't think that we really want a second Fires. That being said, Elspeth Conquers Death will get rid of it. They can bounce it with Teferi again, potentially, depending on how they block here this turn. But I think we just need a heavier density of threats. If they have something like Shatter the Sky here, we're in really big trouble. I'm probably supposed to do this second main phase, but it's okay. And by it's okay, I mean, I don't think that we're in a very strong position to win anyways, but certainly would have been better to do it in the correct format here. So we're going to want to get Trample. It's going to, at the very least, allow us to keep Teferi from... It will allow us to keep Teferi from bouncing this next turn. We can't play any spells on our turn. It's possible Quartzwood was also not a great play because now we're completely overextended, but it doesn't have haste, so playing it next turn is... I don't think that we win a long game here, so I kind of want to put as much pressure as possible and just pray that they don't have what they need. That being said, they've already bounced Omen. They've had plenty of card advantage with early card selection, with cycling, with Birth and Meletis, things like that. So I very seriously doubt that any of our creatures will remain on the table here. That being said, they are scrying main phase. I guess they could have done that last turn, I'm pretty sure. It probably doesn't matter. No, okay, that was on our end step, sorry. So there's the Elspeth Conquers Death. You can say goodbye to the shifting Ceratops. I'm tempted to scoop here, mostly because at this point they can now just bounce their Yorion, or at least eventually they can, and we just can't do anything about it. I'm going to go ahead and call this one. I don't even think that there was anything we could have drawn to help get us out. Potentially anger us to eat Elspeth Conqueror's Death so they don't get multiples, but certainly not the way we wanted to start this quote-unquote climb. That being said, when you're at the bottom of the barrel here, you can't really get much lower, so got that going for us at least. Alright, so we're on the play here against an Obosh deck. Not a strong hand. Fire Prophecy will at the very least allow us to potentially tuck something away if we flood out here again with more lands. We've got a play on 2, a play on 3, one scry trigger here. We've got our Fires, so that Fires is a very lucky hit. I now consider this to be a very strong hand without the Fires. If that had been like a land, for example, if it had been a land, we would have scryed it away, but I feel like we're in a much better position now than we were, obviously, previous to scrying Fires. So we're now in a place where we don't really want to give him access to light up the stage. He didn't play any other haste creatures, so it's possible he has something like Grim Initiate and Scorch Spitter here. I think I would rather just keep him off of light up the stage. And I'm debating... I think we'll keep. If we hit another land here, we'll have a play on turn 3. And our opponent actually does not have a play on turn 2. So this shows me that he's probably going to be playing Bone Crusher Giant, but we kind of... I mean, it might have been correct to just not play it there. But we draw either a 4-drop, which we do. So it might be worth blocking the Bone Crusher here. Once he plays something like Obosh, it's just going to be very, very difficult to deal with. I think we're gonna hope that we just draw a land here. Basically, any spell that's not Arboreal Grazer is pretty good for us. So we do draw Bond of Flourishing, which helps us out in a lot of different ways here. I think we're forced to take the Bonder's Enclave. I just don't see a way that we can potentially take anything else. We'll go with the Quartzwood Crasher here. So he could have land Obosh. Do we die to land Obosh? I'm pretty sure we do. So I think we just pass. We can double spell Quartzwood plus Embercleave this next turn. Land Obosh is obviously going to be pretty brutal, but he doesn't. So he will have Obosh next turn. Chooses to get in. So I believe that is just game for us, if I'm not mistaken. He could have Shock to first strike us away. This is currently dealing 14, so we have to block if we're playing around Shock either way. And if we are, then I believe... we're playing around Shock either way. We'll still get an attacker next turn, so then I guess it just guaranteed needs to be shifting Ceratops, right? It's just a weaker creature. It's a little unfortunate here. So we will get to draw a card here on end step. If we find like a haste creature, we're in pretty good shape. So I think we can start by cycling. It's a little bit unfortunate. So if we Quartzwood swing out, there's just no way we deal enough damage. We will get a huge blocker, but with Obosh coming in, I still think it's probably just, we have to do it this way, right? We'll go with this just in case. So here we have kind of an interesting play here. We could potentially... I think it's got to be this way. We'll have some absolutely massive blockers coming up. We actually get 2 of them. The Quartzwood Crasher. So this is... So I actually did not consider this. I didn't realize that we would get 2 triggers each time that pretty insane. We were also probably supposed to play the land first so that we could Fonder's Enclave. But here we are just going to eat his creatures up, and that's a good win. Certainly a little bit sloppy there towards the end, not considering that we would get multiple triggers from Quartzwood. So we'll take it. So here's another, I think this is just a mulligan. We've already gotten blown out by the Lurrus deck multiple times here. This is a much better hand. So as it currently stands, we don't have a second green source for Ikoria. I still think it's pitch a land. So we're against the Knight's deck variant again, it looks like. Ideally, we'll hit a green source. Could be mono black. Interesting. So it is Rakdos with Kaya's form. Kind of an interesting build. Opponent opts to just get more damage in his turn. I think that's fine. It's a little bit unfortunate here, but we kind of have to play the Temple. Don't think Razer does much for us here, and we're just going to take our beats here, basically. It's unfortunate that we're just not going to be able to block this Knight for a while, but really we could have used a second green source last turn. Whatever we play is going to get killed, so I think it's okay to play this. The reason why I played that and not the Gem Razor is if they play something like Witch's Oven, we might really need to kill it. Butcher. So we are forced to block the Knight here. It's obviously not a good block, but if we don't, he just kills us. And I think we were just a hair too late here. But we'll give the old college try here anyways. Unfortunately, he is just going to be able to bring that Knight back. But there really isn't much that we can do anyways, I don't think. So we'll do our best to make him use his mana here. It is actually just game. There's nothing we can do. Yeah. Tough loss. He got under us. He was on the play. I think he was on the play. That's just the way it goes. It is possible, if we are playing best of ones and we are just getting absolutely blown out by these aggressive decks, we could probably cut the Return of the Wild Speaker. I do think it's the weakest of those cards, and it kind of gives us a little bit more play here in the early game against these aggressive decks. Like I said, with Yorion being such a tyrant in the format right now, you're going to see a resurgence of those aggressive decks. I don't want to cut too many of our 4-mana plays. given that I think they're all just really, really strong. But it is possible that we just need a little bit more survivability. I believe we're on 25 lanes. We could be on 24. We're on 27. I think that's pretty common with a lot of Fires decks. I do think that it is, given the fact that we have Bond of Flourishing, we might be able to get away with cutting a land. We kind of need all of our... We're kind of giving up early plays regardless with the amount of tap lands that we do have. But 27 seems a little thick here for best of one. And I could be wrong. When you're playing Grazer, you kind of want to have a critical mass of lands to make it a worthwhile card. I think it's probably the Highlands, and we can maybe put in something like a third Bond here, just to help give us a little bit more consistency, give us something to do on the first few turns. We're at 26 lands. I don't think that that's optimal, obviously, for 4 Arboreal Grazers, but I also don't want to cut Grazer because it does ramp us into our 4 drops. I think that this is more of results-based thinking, which obviously you don't want to fall into that trap, but if we're going to continue to see these hyper-aggressive decks in an effort to combat Yorion, an extra Fire Prophecy and even an extra Bond of Flourishing just seems good. 26 lands is still enough for us to hopefully be able to keep up and make Arboreal Grazer worth playing. So we're going to go with the Grazer here. This will allow us to play Kahira. This is one of the stronger draws we can have with this deck, especially now given the fact that we will have both Reach and Vigilance for the Sealer's Hawk. Good chance here that he's playing mono white auras. This deck has kind of made a very recent appearance in the format. Again, it's one of those situations where when the best deck in the format is a... Okay, Solid Footing, interesting. Shame and blocking here. So, we don't have a reason not to play Angerus here. They'll allow us to make some really strong attackers here. I do think that we probably want to just go on ahead and get rid of Alcid, given that it has protection. Solid Footing is also not a bad choice. Okay, I've also misread Solid Footing multiple times. It's only if the creature actually already has Vigilance that it deals that damage. I've definitely misread that card multiple times now. Sure, still can't swing. So this is a little bit unfortunate here. We are going to mutate again over, and we're going to get rid of the all that glitters this time for sure. Now we've got Trample, Reach, and Vigilance. Our cards have obviously lined up incredibly well into what our opponent is doing, so we were also on the play with Grazer against a Healer's Hawk deck. You really can't ask for much more here in regards to additional power. We will just go ahead and swing in here. He can't, as it currently stands, trade with anything. He can gain some life, but it won't ultimately result in anything, I don't think. Both of our creatures have Trample. Sure, pretty good. He gains a bunch of life here, and we will play Shifting Ceratops. So, I mean, it is possible here that our opponent could play like land, Luris, buy back, something, but they just decided to scoot. That was one of the stronger draws that we could have had, even without the fires. I've actually played against the White Auras deck, a very similar version to the one we just played against, and I've gotten blown out actually by Fencing Ace multiple times. Given it, when it's enchanted, it gets Double Strike, or actually I think it just has Double Strike if I'm not mistaken. And I was just spamming mono red Obosh trying to get to Diamond, which was eventually the deck that got me there. But when you're playing mono red and the opponent has a 10/10 Double Striker, you really have no chance. So opponent's not playing a companion. That leads me to believe they're on something like Temur Reclamation. And if I'm putting them on Reclamation, Anguirus is probably pretty strong. That being said, we already have one, so I think we kind of just want to dig for fires as much as possible. Okay, so they're not on what I put them on. They're on a white deck with no companion. So they're on mono white light. Gotcha. Okay, well, honestly not that bad here. What we can do is we can actually just mutate onto Ikoria if need be. Nope. Which I kind of like here. Kill off his Daxos. Play the Razer. And now next turn, depending on what he plays, we'll have Quartzwood Crasher or Shifting Ceratops. I'm sorry, or Shifting Ceratops with haste to just really put on as much pressure as possible. Opponent is hedging against the mono red decks that have. I'm pretty sure the mono red Obosh deck has been putting up a fair amount of results in competitive play. So we've got a Linden. That will be all. I think we just spam Quartzwoods. It's a little bit unfortunate in the sense that we could have gotten in for a fair amount more damage here, but I kind of like just getting tokens every turn. Now we're in a position where even if he has removal, so I guess it could be like Conclave Tribunal. Banishing Light, I suppose. Double Quartzwood here is going to be pretty insane. Probably would have played the Daxos first here. did think that block was a little bit interesting from the opponent. And this just gets to be pretty abusive here. I don't see a way for the opponent to get through this here. Even if they gain the life, we're going to be getting so many trample tokens that I believe it's just game. I actually don't even think they have a good enough block here to be able to survive this with all of our creatures having trample. Hushbringer's got lifelink, but it's not going to do it. Maybe they've got Fight as one, but I still don't think that's good enough. So definitely very strong showing there. Mono White just doesn't have a whole lot of interaction against what our game plan is. We also got some of that delicious Gem Razer value eating up a Daxos there pretty early on. And that's just good old-fashioned family fun. We 100% keep this. Opponent's not playing a companion and they're on a mulligan. So we'll go ahead and do our Razer. Start here. Opponent is on mono red. Well, you're not going to get a better hand than the one we've got here. We've got quite literally everything we need. Don't think the opponent can win this game. Obviously, he could make me a liar here. He could Bone Crusher the Kahira, or Shock, sure. This allows him to light up the stage. So maybe I spoke a little bit too soon, but I'm pretty sure, especially with him being on a mulligan. Okay. I actually don't think we mind that at all. Yeah. Don't think he can really have anything here. Sure. Given that they're not playing a companion, I am going to Fire Prophecy away the Rimrock Knight. The reason why I want to do that is, A, I really want to get a land, which we did, but also, if they have Embercleave, we could be in trouble, so, for example, next turn, so I guess maybe we were supposed to do that pre-combat, given that we wanted to play Cavalier Flame, but, so what could they have here? They have most likely Embercleave. If they have double Rimrock Knight, we lose Cavalier. I guess we were just supposed to have. Okay, so it is Embercleave. But that is just the game now. We can activate the Cavalier here and pump our team. Alright, so I guess it's not actually a game yet. Yep. This is 12 damage. And given the fact that we haven't cast any spells yet, again, was probably supposed to do that first. So we're playing a little bit sloppy here, but still managed to get a win. That was pretty sloppy. But we will take the wins here, so. Another opponent without a companion. I don't think we mulligan 99% of our Fires of Invention hands. Maybe not 99, but they are playing blue. And it's stopped as well. So expecting a Spectral Sailor Winota deck. Opt, so most likely Team Wreck. Could be mono blue tempo. No, it's Winota, I want to say. So opponent definitely knows what we have here. We're going to grab the Angerus. This is just fun, given that we can potentially mutate onto the Kahira and just blow up the Stonecoil Serpent. I'm not actually 100% sure if it works like that. Kahira is multicolored, but Angerus isn't, so maybe if Angerus is on top. I'm not 100% sure how this works. Opponent plays a 3/3 Stonecoil Serpent. I suppose it could just be. I suppose it could just be something like an affinity deck. We've only seen Opt and Artifact. Seems a little unlikely though. I don't think the Winota decks play Castle. They're on mono blue, so they're. Not actually sure. If they leave mana up here, we are okay. So they're just on 100% Stonecoil Boys here, and I do think that we just play Shifting Ceratops. This allows us to block all of their Stonecoils so far. I don't think blue plays any combat tricks. We are protection from blue. Alright, so fairly certain anything we play here is going to get countered, but ideally we would rather Angerus get countered than our Quartzwood Crasher. They could bounce Kahira. Okay. Fair. So now, do we think they have a second one? Even if they do, I'm pretty sure we just want to play Quartzwood here. And I think we can pass. Opponent is flooding out a little bit here. Okay. So, if it was good once, it's probably good again. Essence Capture is a little bit annoying here. But again, we want the second Quartzwood to resolve. We can still give Shifting Ceratops, Trample. Okay. That actually does change things just a little bit. I think given the fact that he knows about you here, we try to play it again. Alright, it does resolve. I don't think we want to trade yet. I think we want to wait until Quartzwood Crashers are just spamming out huge tokens. He can play the Brazen Borrower here. It's possible we're playing this just a little bit too close to the vest, but I don't want to trade Quartzwood Crasher for... Actually, I guess the Quartzwood specifically just can't even really swing, right? So they main phase Scry, which is a little bit interesting. Bottom both. Yeah, the Quartzwood can't actually swing into these Stonecoil Serpents because they do have protection. Well, that's pretty good. We are going to go with Shifting Ceratops here in the second Quartzwood. Now, if they want to kill a Quartzwood, they're more than welcome to. They're going to have to double block with their two strongest Stonecoils to get rid of it. And the rest of what we're doing here, that's an incorrect block, I believe. We've already cast our 2 spells, so he knows that we can't cast anything else. But we're not really in any position to complain. So we do get 2 pretty massive trample threats here. And I think that's just the game. A pretty neat deck. Opponent is playing mono blue tempo for sure, and maybe that's strong against the current metagame. When the Yorion decks are playing 80 cards, there's a good chance that they just don't get as many Teferis. So counter magic heavy decks might perform a little bit better into them. Pretty neat deck. Haven't actually played against that yet. Given that we're on the play, we're definitely going to keep this. We are up against most likely Jeskai Fires. Do like the sleeves here. I have seen a few Reclamation decks play Karuga as well, with things like Brazen Borrower and Bone Crusher Giant instead of Ether Gust. And I'm not really sure what else. I believe is it all permanents? No, yeah, it is only cards with convert mana cost. So yeah, so if they're playing the Reclamation deck, they are forfeiting Ether Gust. I suspect that they are most likely playing Jeskai Fires though. Certainly a strong deck in its own right. So we do pick up 4 land for Fires here. We'll see if this resolves. It does. Probably gets Brazen Borrowed and or Bone Crusher. Sure. Okay, so good chance here that they're not playing too much counter magic. Perfect. Take that in a heartbeat. We get our Fires down. I think we're going to go with Shifting Ceratops. Reason for that is if they go something like Teferi here, they can't bounce Shifting Ceratops. They can bounce the Fires. Opponent also misses a land drop there. It's pretty unfortunate. We are going to play our Questing Beast here. Don't actually know which one opponent would rather trade with. They're missing white mana for anything to deal with Shifting Ceratops. I don't actually think we're going to play the Arboreal Grazer. It doesn't do anything on this board, and we can pitch it away with Cavalier Flame here. So opponent does get their white mana. They get fires. So we've still got a game on our hands here. Teferi doesn't do much. Shadow the Sky will do it. Okay. So Teferi does bounce fires, which is a little bit frustrating, but
I'll protect you.
ideally we will draw a land here. And we do. It's pretty insane. So we'll go with fires, and I think we like Vivian here. Reason for that is this will...
Diversity is our greatest strength.
So, if he has Shadow the Sky, Teferi allows him to cast that at instant speed next turn after we play some really strong cards.
That's how
So,
it was meant to happen.
it's a little bit unfortunate here, but we are trying to win here, so might be a little bit too safe. So we've got, what, double Clarion here? Double Clarion does not save him the game. Does not save him, excuse me. And that is what he opted to go for. Now, given the fact that we absolutely know
The more the hairier.
but he cannot cast any spells, we're just going ahead and grab Questing Beast. Pitch one card. And we will also play Torchwood Crasher, and that is the game. Alright, so we've strung together some wins here towards the end. Definitely a rough start. I'm glad we had that at the beginning, so that you could see that, you know, this deck does struggle against super aggressive starts. So another opponent without a companion, definitely keeping the hand. I think we like the bond. Especially now that we know it's against mono red. I think we're actually just in the market here for an untapped land. It's possible that we were supposed to temple there instead of the bond, but certainly could be worse. So I actually think I'm going to temple here. We don't need another land. We will Fire Prophecy the Runaway Steamkin. Go ahead and pitch this land. So now we've got a hand chock full of threats and Fires of Invention. Red deck doesn't play any discard spells or enchantment removal. So we're definitely in a strong position here. I'm going to place Annex. So I like the fires here. And I think we are going to play Questing Beast. We can't trade with it with the Annex, and next turn we can both... We could Kahira and Shifting Ceratops for haste. Light up the stage, main phase. That's not going to do it. I'm pretty sure they've already played a land here. Perfect champion, sure. Hit here. So I think we're okay with letting him hold on to the letting him hold on to Annex. I considered potentially mutating the Angerus there and just getting rid of the Annex before it got out of hand. But this way, he basically just has to kill me this turn. And with what he's got, he's not playing Obosh, obviously. He could have Embercleave, which is scary. He could still cast Embercleave. But anything that's not Embercleave here, I'm pretty sure we just mop the floor with him. I think that's probably the right play. Sure. Opts not to get in, and that will be the game. I'm fairly certain. I mean, alternatively here, we can mutate. I want to kill him this turn, and I think the best way to do that is to get rid of a blocker. That's a little unfortunate. Sure. So we were... Well, I guess he can't actually block the Questing Beast, which I did think about, but I kind of forgot him there for a second. Yeah, that's game. Alright, so we did get up to Diamond 3. So as you can see, when this deck does get its draw, it is pretty oppressive, especially in games without a whole lot of disruption and or interaction. Certainly capable of some pretty powerful stuff. So this is a very, very tough hand to mulligan. Obviously they're playing a Lurrus deck, so we're looking at a very aggressive start, and we really don't have a whole lot going on. It's probably the disciplined thing here to do, I'm sure, is to mulligan, given that we really need that early interaction. But if we can just survive the initial onslaught, we might honestly have a chance. They are playing the mono-white Lurrus deck. As well. I think we're good with just getting as many threats as possible here. We're going to take some hits. It's not going to be fun. Yep. So Kahira can't block the Ginger Brute, but at least we might be able to kind of put him off of... Okay, so we almost certainly need to get rid of the healer talk. So it kind of seems counterintuitive to not play Fires this turn. I guess it's just as good to Fires. I think we need the mana to mutate, though. If I'm not mistaken, you need the mana to mutate, and we absolutely have to guarantee that this resolves. So I'm gonna do this. It might be the wrong play. I'm worried that if I play Fires and I don't have mana open to mutate, like I think mutate is an activated ability, if I'm not mistaken. So we'll get Reach and Trample. We'll eat up one of these, all that glitters. We'll also have Vigilance. Right, Reach, Trample, and Vigilance. This allows us to block Healer's Hawk. If he has another all that glitters or something, we're certainly in trouble, but ideally here we can go Fires plus Quartzwood. So that has Indestructible this turn. Is there a way that we can win the game any other way? I mean, if we don't block this Healer's Hawk, he just absolutely pounds us, right? Not to mention he could have another instant speed combat trick. So I think we're priced into blocking the Healer's Hawk. What kind of sucks is we're not going to be able to play both the... I think we have to. I could be wrong. Maybe we're just like dead either way, but... it kind of felt like he had something there. Another Healer's Hawk is pretty tough to deal with. Okay, so this isn't bad. We can go Fires of Invention, Shifting Ceratops, and now we can give the Shifting Ceratops Reach. Karamatch's Blessing is not permanent. Okay, so he does get in another really strong attack here. Tops that as well. This is certainly getting scary here. Well, certainly a strong showing here from the opponent. Protection here as an aggressive combat trick. It was a lot of fun. He needs to attack with that Ginger Brute though. If he doesn't, he does not. So I guess we could have given ourselves haste, which would have allowed us to block said Ginger Brute. So they get all that glitters back here. Sure. So they do not block here. I am going to play the Temple here. I think we just want to get... That's a great draw. definitely willing to trade this. Ah, that'll be the game. Definitely a good top deck here from the opponent. That is what that deck does. Very well. Sure. Good. We almost stabilized there. But opponent definitely scrapped together that win, though. They definitely deserved it. Given the fact that we're against another Lurrus deck, I think we can keep this hand. It's not super strong. We don't obviously have Fires of Invention or really a whole lot of threats. Embercleave is going to be a little bit clunky here. But depending on what our opponent plays here, so they're an Abzan enchantments list, which is pretty neat. Sure. I do think that we need to get rid of that Starfield Mystic here as soon as possible. I think we'll pitch to Embercleave. Don't think there's any reason to play Razer there. Now we'll have things like Questing Beast and Shifting Ceratops as threats. I am interested to find out what the Abzan splashes for. I know Setessan Champion is obviously very strong. They could be playing Paradise Druid for Hexproof. Sure. Yep. Alright, well that's just an insane draw. They cannot currently give their Starfield Mystic protection. They probably will be able to give it lifelink here at some point, but not much we can do about that, honestly. If we hit a land here, we can go Vivian plus Shifting Ceratops. Maybe they've got something like Conclave Tribunal. Probably just more Starfield Mystic stuff. I don't think that they run enchantments that give their creature flying. I'm pretty sure there is one. I forget what it's called, but it gives their creature flying. I just don't know what it is. We do draw the land here. It's pretty insane. I don't think there's really anything off the top here that we really want. Horsewood Crasher would be pretty sweet. I'm thinking what we'll end up doing though is, well, I guess we don't have any other creatures, right, at the 3-drop slot, so Shifting Ceratops, it might honestly just be correct to plus here for Vivian. Oh, nope. Too bad. We're just gonna absolutely blow up. Ah, what I should have done was minus there with Vivian. That was a mistake. That was absolutely a mistake. Okay.
Beaten, but not extinct.
Sure. I think we'll just pitch the Razer here. So we are kind of playing against, or playing into Karamech's Blessing, which is certainly unfortunate. But I think I would rather... They want to sack the bounty here to give their Starfield Mystic protection. So maybe we're supposed to stick in with the Cavalier Flame there as well. Not entirely sure what happened there. Oh, damage can't be prevented due to Questing Beast's effect. That would be why. That's a Questing Beast is just so jam-packed full of text that it can sometimes be difficult to remember just how impressive in a card it is. So, happily take that. I feel like, anyways, it's not a text that comes up that often, but right there, just won us the game, so we'll take it. Another Lures deck. We are going to keep this hand. Another Auras deck, it looks like. Yep. Enclave is an interesting choice there. It might have been correct to take it, given that we do have two 5-drops in our hand. But I think we're okay with digging. Okay. Do think we play Ikoria here. So what would be really nice is if we draw Angerus, one of the better creatures we can have in this matchup. Angerus or Fires, obviously. So he'll get lifelink this turn. So basically we're deciding if we want to give up this for something like a Karamech's Blessing. If he wants to use that to get rid of our Boreal Grazer, he's more than welcome to. I mean, I guess it was not a whole lot of risk to him swinging in there. Now there is, though. Sure. So now he can get protection from green, which is a little bit unfortunate. He does have vigilance. So we're in a tough spot here. I think okay. That's pretty neat. So, our opponent will be able to give their Ginger Brute protection this next turn. I'm hoping that so he did leave us open to be able to block this. Doesn't have lifelink currently. Alright, I think we take it. This leaves us dead to anything next turn, unfortunately. But I genuinely don't know when we're supposed to have otherwise swung. So we'll play this, we'll go ahead and draw. Razer's unfortunate. But I guess that, given the fact that we just don't have anything else, so that was probably the best way to block for our opponent, as far as I can tell. So I think, do we still go to first strike damage or not? Oh wow, 2-1. Yep. Good game. Really good game. So that's got to give him protection from red, and then he uses that to give it protection, or to make it so he can't be blocked. Strong game. I guess we're supposed to have blocked maybe with one other creature there. Close game though. Essentially some misplays, but we did the best we could. I guess if we didn't, maybe if we didn't cast, if we didn't activate Bonder's Enclave. Alright. A little bit awkward here. Against a Lurrus deck, though, I have to feel like we keep this, right? I get that this is a very ugly hand, and I'm certainly not ecstatic about it, but we do get to filter our hand a little bit here with Fire Prophecy. We'll probably just pitch the Grazer here. Alright, well, third Prophecy is probably not okay. We can take one here. I don't think they're playing Rakdos with Light Up the Stage. Let me rephrase. I don't think they're playing Light Up the Stage, so we can take the 1 damage. They certainly could be playing Rakdos still. Looks like it's Orzhov. Sure, we'll most definitely be killing this. And I think we'll go ahead and pitch that. So we drew another one anyways, and we will go on ahead and play Razer. Top lane here. Still can't actually play the Orphan Guard, but okay. I think we'll actually decline this. I think Bond Flourishing is better than a random draw. We'll grab the Quartzwood here. Don't see a reason to play the Mountain. Sure. So now we can pitch away this Grazer if he does play. Sure. He does take 6, I believe? Yeah. Sure. So I'm missing double green here, which is pretty unfortunate. We have filtered 3 cards, so we'll keep that. And we're pretty much just taking our lumps here. The unfortunate thing is he is eventually going to draw that 3rd land, and then Lurrus is going to be fairly oppressive. What I'm hoping we can do here is this next turn we'll just mutate the... Okay. Yeah, this is going to get pretty insane here. So he can sack the Familiar in response here, drain us for 1 billion. Opponent still has not actually drawn third land, which is pretty great. At the very least, I guess, if he's... If he gets the land and he plays Lurrus, he can't actually play the Oven this turn, so maybe we get a little bit more time. Well, the extra removal here is pretty brutal. Maybe we were supposed to swing in there. Maybe if we had just tried to race, we wouldn't be in nearly as bad of a position. Probably supposed to have raced. Yeah, we are in some serious trouble here. But it is possible that we can just go off with Cavalier Flame here this next turn. Maybe he has another Dire Tactics. If he doesn't have a land, okay, well, I'm not actually sure how we're supposed to deal with that, if I'm being honest. Draw a card. Okay. I'm not actually sure how this is going to work out. So we die if we don't immediately kill him. This allows us to get trampled though. So if we play the Cavalier, he blocks Cavalier with Cauldron Familiar, blocks Cruel Celebrant. Unfortunately, I just don't think there's really a way for us to win here. We can give Shifting Ceratops trample as well. I think it's got to be something with trample though. No lands in our graveyard. He doesn't have any enchantments. We needed the trample there, but I'm pretty sure it's just like 1 or 2 turns too late here. Yeah. Do we get him first? Hey, GG. So playing the Angerus there saved us for sure. Yeesh. It's a little bit unfortunate. Especially on the draw. So this does allow us to ramp out a Kahira and potentially ramp out Horsewood Crasher. Fire Prophecy is probably just a dead card. I have seen some Yorion decks play like Winota, but I have a hard time believing this hand gets us there. We'll try to mull. Okay. It's not... Wouldn't necessarily consider this better, but I think it was a good attempt. Okay, well, shifting Ceratops definitely helps. This will allow us to Kahira. They're on the Just Guide build. Unfortunately, I'm pretty sure we just need to go for the temple there. I don't think we want another one. So certainly slow. I've got a feeling what we're about to play is going to get countered, so at least this way if Kahira gets countered. Does not. This does play into Shatter the Sky, but okay, Omen's fine. So I guess in results-based thinking, that was just pretty brutal. Okay. So he could very well be playing the Winota build. But Questing Beast does Questing Beast things. Going ahead and keep the Elspeth as well.
Still.
We're going to keep the Arboreal Grazer in hand to pitch it away with Cavalier. potentially should have just gone shifting Ceratops haste. I really like shifting Ceratops though for post board wrath. Protection from blue is just really valuable in this matchup, and oh, we love that. I think we want to give this haste and trample. At least this way, if he decides to block, we can still get 4 damage in. Alternatively, we would have just not really done much anyways. The 1 damage from our Razer I don't think was worth it there. Sure. Wow. Is that game? I believe it is. Yep. Oh no, it's not. So the reason why I didn't double spell there is this gives me protection against sweepers. I mean, to some extent. It might be wrong to do that, but so I guess I was wrong. No, it wasn't. I mean, again, result-based thinking, but alright. We were not going to cast the Fire Prophecy there, just to be clear. Alright, well, we did manage to climb from the bottom of Diamond 4 to mid Diamond 3. So I'd like to thank everybody for watching. We'll most certainly be continuing to grind out here in hopes of getting to Mythic. I really appreciate you guys supporting me and taking the time to watch the videos, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye-bye.